Good evening, everybody. Proudly, we have two award ceremonies this evening. The first one will deal with our PAL, Police Activities League. Juanita Hardwood, would you do the honors in coming up and starting off that ceremony, please?
Thank you, certainly. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. I'm sure you guys know that every year we host the Retiree Curry 5K scholarship fundraise. So the funds that are raised during that particular race are awarded to PAL, and they distribute them to 4 graduating seniors from Hempstead High School. So I'm going to call up Police Officer Cheryl Roberts, who's in charge of PAL, and she will take it.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Officer Roberts. I'm here with my board members and the 4 scholarship recipients. The Tyree Curry Scholarship is named after Mr. Tyree Curry, who was an educator, civil rights activist, principal, administrator, photographer, mentor, and friend to both students and adults in the village of Hempstead and beyond. The funds for these scholarships are raised from the proceeds of the annual Tyree Curry race, 5K race, and these scholarships are given to selected Hempstead High School graduates who have met the criteria. A special thanks to Ms. Juanita Hardwood, and thank you to all our participants who contributed to the event and all the hard work that was put into this event to make this all possible. I would like for my 2019 scholarship recipients to please stand. Mr. David Payne, can you please step forward? David Payne will be attending SUNY Westbury to major in accounting to become a certified public accountant. Osat Uzamir, can you please step forward? Osat Uzamir will be attending Eastern Connecticut State University to major in sports leisure management to pursue a career in sports medicine. Nosa Uzamir, would you please step forward? Nosa Uzamir will be attending Western Connecticut State University to major in business management to pursue a career in sports management. Davion Tatum, corrections, right? Davion Tatum will be attending Morgan State University to major in political science to pursue a career in law. Congratulations. Congratulations to all our scholarship recipients. We wish you continued success as you enter the next chapter in your academic and professional career.
Board of Trustees, we have certificates for them as well, Mayor. Board of Trustees, would you like to come down?
And we would certainly want to also extend our congratulations to each of you. You make us proud. Hempstead High School has done a fine job in many instances, and you are 4 great examples. We wish you the best of success at your next level. Good luck.
I'm just gonna read what the certificate says. It says, on behalf of the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, I, Mayor Don Ryan, along with the Board of Trustees, hereby deem it an honor to acknowledge your outstanding achievements. Education is a never-ending process, giving you an opportunity to work to achieve your highest potential and establishing you as a person of notable integrity. We commend, praise, and encourage you to continue on this exemplary path of excellence. An investment in a child is an investment in the future. I express my sincere gratitude to you for blessing me with this scholarship award, and I am deeply appreciative of your support. As David Thomas said, unselfish and noble actions are the most radiant pages in the biography of souls. I am attending the University at Albany starting this fall of 2018, where I will be majoring in political science and criminal justice. I definitely plan to give back to my community in the near future. The financial assistance you provided will be of great help to me in paying my educational expenses, and it will allow me to dedicate more of my time to studying, pursuing my career path, and making this world a better place. I thank you again for your generosity and your support. Masika R. Guerrero.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the next ceremony has to do with our police officers. We have two of the trustees assigned to the police department. They are the Deputy Mayor, Charles Renfro, Trustee Jeffrey Daniels, and of course our Assistant Chief, Kevin Colgan, is here as well. If they would come to the mic and start the ceremony, we'd appreciate it. I should mention that Trustee Lamont Johnson is a retired Hempstead police officer.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, we want to congratulate the 4 Hempstead finalists for a job that was well done last week. For the job that you did in the streets and how you guys disarmed several of our guys from the community without incident. And we want you to know that we certainly appreciate your time and your effort and the way you guys are working with the community. We are congratulating you. Job well done, and congratulations again. Job well done. Are the students still here? No. Oh. I would just like to say this before they leave. How fitting it is for the Tyree Curry Award for you four. You might not have known him, but he was someone who was to be reckoned with in this community. Yeah. Everybody in Hempstead knew Mr. Curry. And one of the mottos that I picked up from him was that I am a union rep for the children. And that went with him. Jeff knows, that's him shaking his head. But that went with him throughout his whole time that he was here. He touched the entire community. Yes. And he touched many students in this community. From the middle school, from elementary school all the way up to high school. So you ought to be congratulated. Good luck. And may you continue to travel up that ladder. Thanks.
Say your best last.
Good evening, everybody. Again, I just echo the words of Deputy Mayor Renfro. Thank you guys a lot from the bottom of our hearts. I know we don't do this enough, and I know y'all probably know that, but I'm glad we had the opportunity to do it today. I know that day in and day out, we now are communicating with the officers at the desk about when incidents are occurring. So we sleep better knowing that you guys are there. We wish you guys all the best in your careers, because it is a career, but always safety first. I want to make sure you guys come home. God bless you.
Thank you, Trustee Daniels. Good evening. Good evening. Some people don't know exactly what these great officers did. They risked life and limb to protect all of us. There was an incident on Terrace about a week ago. There were 2 people that were shot on Terrace Avenue. After that shooting, patrol was increased on Terrace. They also had a mobile unit, a mobile van on Terrace Avenue. And these officers was able to effect an arrest on Terrace Avenue. They took a dangerous firearm off the street, so they need to be commended for that. If you watch Channel 12, you will see several times in different municipalities, 7-Eleven was robbed. Another gun was taken from 7-Eleven in Hempstead, 531 Fulton Avenue. So these police officers are doing a great job. They're risking their lives, and we appreciate the work they do.
Again, we want to say congratulations to our police officers. Sometimes you see stuff on social media that's real crazy, and someone made the statement, well, all right, they took 6 guns off the street and you still have shootings. But guess what? We didn't say they took all the guns off the street, but that's 6 less guns that commit robbery and homicide. So this is why we honor them. So let's give them a hand.
The trustees are also correct. Removing guns from the street certainly does mean possibility of less homicides and less criminal action, and that's important. I would now like to read one of the citations. They're the same for each of the officers, so you hear exactly what it is we're saying. It's presented by the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, a recognition award, and it says, I, Don Ryan, Mayor of the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, along with the Board of Trustees, hereby deem it an honor and privilege to recognize Hempstead's finest for going above and beyond the call of duty. Our community has a continuing sense of gratitude for those who serve and protect our neighborhoods and families. You honorably deserve and merit our continued appreciation for the sacrifice you make in the line of duty. We commend you. Congratulations.
And now at this time, we're going to call Police Officer Marissa Bazzini.
We have the questions now for docketed items. Dan Oppenheimer, would you approach?
Good evening, everyone. Regarding the registration of vacant and foreclosed homes, how would the village determine if a home is vacant if it is not in foreclosure? You mentioned that there would be some houses that this would apply to if they're not occupied, but still not in foreclosure. Are you going to drive around to identify them since they're not appearing on any foreclosure roll?
They're waiting more than 30 days. The village department already has a code enforcement. As you know, Leeward Brown already does that for the CBA.
So if a home is owned but no one is in it after 30 days, you're aware of that? Second item, you mentioned the agreements on the income to the parking lots in excess of $600 and some thousand dollars on that. Do you have a figure of the total income at all of the parking lots?
Total from all of the parking lots for this particular contract?
Just the village in general, how much I know you might not have the
Not off the top of my head, no. The treasurer can give that to you.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Would you know if it is the village making a profit on it, or is it a break even due to the cost of maintaining the?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to that.
I'll get
If
it.
you're looking good, you come over and buy it.
Thank you.
Captain Gary?
Good evening. I had a question on number 13. The Lavarge Group, or Bird Group, this is a contract, and I'll read the first sentence in the contract. It says that this is a contract for professional consulting services, including but not limited to strategic and comprehensive planning, zoning and land use planning, grant and funding application, grant administration, sanitary sewer collection and treatment, drinking water supply, distribution and treatment, stormwater system design and program management, land surveying, road and highway engineering, architectural services, landfill monitoring, and related services, dam safety, petroleum bulk service on storage, and construction administration observation. Can you tell me what is the project? In other words, it doesn't say in the contract what the project is, and it doesn't say in the resolution as to what the project is. So my question is, what is the project?
There is no project. It's a general services agreement. So we could hire the Urge Group for any of the services that you read off in that paragraph. There is an addendum to this, 13A, which is the contract addendum. You don't have it there.
Yeah, that wasn't on the internet.
I understand.
What does it say?
So where the village board is going to vote tonight on whether they're going to hire the Urge Group to source and apply for grant funding.
To apply for grant funding? I didn't read that in the resolution.
Right, because it was an addendum.
Oh, it's an addendum.
Right. So you don't have that there.
So,
And the reason is that I realized about an hour before the meeting that the addendum wasn't posted along with the general services contract.
so what did you say the addendum is now?
For the board to vote on whether they would like the Verge Group to apply for grants.
For what kind of grants?
Any that are available that the village is eligible for, whether it be for roads, DPW, police, the library, anything that we're available for, that we're eligible for, we're asking them to source those, research them, and then assist in the application process or make the application.
I see. So it's pretty wide open. Will those decisions be made in public when they decide to do a grant application?
No,
No? Why not?
because it's not necessary at that point.
But wasn't it necessary for the people in the community to know what grants are being applied for and for what purpose?
If the grant is accepted, you
If
have
it's
to make it
accepted,
part of
they're
the record.
certainly gonna
We're
hear
not
about
gonna take it
it.
step by step.
Is this, once you hire this group, will this be a third-party consultant contract that will be paid for through the escrow agreement with the developer? What does it have to do with the downtown redevelopment?
No,
It doesn't have to do with the downtown
It's not
redevelopment,
specific.
it's completely unrelated.
but it can.
I don't know. The answer is it's completely unrelated.
Okay,
It's specifically what you read.
okay.
Mr.
So
Mayor,
it's a completely open-ended contract.
I ask a question? I'm looking through this, I'm having difficulty, the print is very small, so I don't see the details of what's on there. I don't know if someone could provide me with something with larger writing, but the writing is so small, I can't read it. So I would like someone to provide a readable copy of this agreement.
Well stated, trustee. It was very difficult to read it. I had to increase the size through my printer in order to read this. And I also mentioned that the other contracts that are on the internet, we have 117 pages to prepare for this meeting tonight. And most of it was in print that could not be read. One more, the other question I had was number 12, having to do with the parking. And this is a very extensive contract, and again, you can't read it because it's printed so small. But it's, even with the small print, it's like 20 pages, 18 to 20 pages. And from what I gather from this, it looks like the village is about to enter a contract to hire an outside firm that will get close to 30% of the take on parking fees. And it's a very complicated, as I said, it goes through like 18 pages. It's a very complicated document. I really believe that you should reconsider this because it's going to have sensors on all the parking spaces. It's certainly going to increase the cost of parking tickets because this is going to increase. It is so complicated. This looks like it's something for New York City.
If we can hesitate for a moment, it is true, it is on Rockwell Center, but we have Dennis Farrell here from FPS. He can simplify this for you and everybody present. If you would be willing to yield the mic, we'll have him come up and explain.
I'm sure he could simplify it. However, we don't know if what he says in simplifying it is really going to reflect what's in here. Because he's there to sell this to you and to sell it to the public.
Thank you.
Right?
We can then
Right. At any rate, it's to use electronic surveillance throughout the village. And I question the advisability of that.
And we appreciate that. Mr. Farrell, if you would take the mic.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, members of the Board of Trustees. Thank you for having me. And to reflect just for a second on the comments that were made. There is no surveillance. There is no electronic spotting of car spaces. Censoring.
Let him have the mic.
Okay. That's a misunderstanding. Our services are provided directly to the court to assist in the processing of parking tickets that are issued by the police department with conference and jurisdiction to the Village Justice Court. We met with Justice Dell as well as members of the board. We met with the police department and we discussed the protocols that are currently in place. And the idea behind the contract or the relationship, the agreement, in general is this: to improve services to the village constituents, to the residents, to improve services in the court and the ability for the court to improve its services to the residents, as well as the police department to operate more efficiently when it comes to the issuances of parking violations, and include integration of the Muni meter system, parking pay apps, and the processing of the court records. So the contract itself is, yes, formidable in scope, and the idea is to improve efficiencies, reduce costs, and actually return significantly more revenues to the village coffers, if you will. So I think it's a very beneficial contract. And as far as selling our services, we're Hempstead residents. We are here, located here at 14 Front Street. We've been in the village of Hempstead for 32 years. I've had a relationship both with the community, with the school, with Leadership Training Institute. I think I personally am, and our company is well rooted in this village. So we're vested, and we're just not a company from the outside. Any questions?
What other municipalities?
Yes, I have a question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's still not readable, so you need a magnifying glass to read it. So,
It's the way it's scanned.
whatever it is, I can't read it.
But I actually emailed the copy to you all.
Oh, I looked at it on the email also, and it's still.
Well-
No, it's full size on your email.
Okay, all right, let me say this. Not only those services that you talked about, but I'm excited over the fact that with our neighborhood aides, that now instead of writing tickets where they have to fill in the dots, we're going to upgrade it and give them the ability to scan. That keeps them out of confrontations, keeps them out of danger, and it's a safety factor. And so, you know, I welcome it. It minimizes error. Yeah, and then also, let me say this, you know, for the record, you know, although the print, it might be small for some, but we do get our docket ahead of time, and if we have any questions, we should go before today.
Right. And also they're placed sometimes in your mailboxes, and I know when Dennis Charles was first meeting, we had copies made.
I should mention FPS was previously employed by the village. I've looked up that record, and the amount of money that the court's made is substantially more than we now enjoy. And I believe that's going to happen again if indeed this board agrees the FPS is the village.
Mr. Mayor,
So,
I believe the perfect time to ask a question is any time a trustee that was elected feels like asking a question. And I ask a question, and it's not readable.
thank you. Okay?
Mr. Farrell, I have just a couple of questions. How many villages are you in right now?
Statewide, we're in over 65, I think it is.
Rockland Center, one of them?
No, the Village of Rockland Center is not, but they're currently talking to us because of a lot of the changes that are happening technologically in the industry. Many communities are looking to do business with a company like ours that puts it all together. And if I can also, we were incorporated in the state of New York. We've been incorporated since 1985, and we've enjoyed an excellent reputation doing business in municipal government statewide for over 30-something years.
And just to clarify, you're only, if tickets are paid on time, you guys don't get any money, is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And if tickets are dismissed by the judge, there's no fee to the village. This is a performance-based contract, and the percentage that is paid by the village is only on tickets that are paid late. That's after the return date. I think it's 32 days, and it's only based on what the individual pays. The court maintains complete control over the dispositioning and the idea of the adjudication of the ticket and what the person pays.
Thank you.
Can I just respond since I raised this issue? In this document, it says, new technologies are changing how public parking is managed. From parking space sensors to parking locator apps to digital permits and access rights to GPS-based violation notifications to digital payment options, new technologies are helping local governments manage parking assets in new ways. The use and integration of these components put cities, towns, and villages in control with data at their fingertips. But all these parts require a strong central control and case management system that is agile and easy to integrate with new parties. Now, to me, this is only going to create more expensive parking. When you have all this technology, it's just like all the other technologies you have that makes everything more expensive.
Thank you.
If I can address that, that's being read from an article that we wrote, which was published in the New York State Associations of Towns, as well as I think the New York Conference of Mayors. It has to do with parking, which is very interesting, the discussion, being a very important asset in the village, a limited asset in the village, and it's how parking should be optimized for the use of residents, whether it's train parking, visitor parking, restaurant parking, movie parking. It's about smart parking and the kind of technology that's being infused, if you will. But that's an article that we wrote. It's not part of the contract.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's move on. We have a few other, but they're all applicable to the open mic at the end of the meeting.
Now we're going to have a presentation of activities report. Recreation and Parks Commissioner Vanessa Henry.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, trustees. The Parks and Recreation Commission monthly meeting was held Tuesday, July 30th, from 6:35 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. at Kennedy Memorial Park. In attendance were Commissioners Renee Cordero, Jeff Spencer, Barbara Bora, Randy Harrison, and Superintendent George Sanders. Commissioner Lourdes Watts was excused, and Commissioner Ricky Cook was also excused. The meeting was called to order by the chairperson at 6:35 p.m. It's a motion by the chair to accept the minutes from our meeting in June. The motion was seconded by Commissioner Bora. The motion was carried. The commission reviewed 16 letters requesting the use of the facilities at Hempstead Parks, the Showmobile, or the Parks and Recreation Department's bus. 14 requests were approved, 2 requests were denied. The commission reviewed and discussed only new business. The meeting was adjourned at 7:45 p.m. by the chairperson. The next meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission will be held Tuesday, August 27, 6:30 p.m. at Kennedy Memorial Park. Also, I have a few reminders. I just want to remind the public that we do have Friday night concerts at Kennedy Park, which begin at 6 o'clock, and there will be no concert on August 16th at Kennedy Park. Instead, a gospel concert will be held at Denton Green Park beginning at 6 o'clock. However, following Friday, August 23rd, concerts will continue at Kennedy Park, and the final concert is August 30th. Also, I would like, I guess for parents who have grandchildren or children that need book bags and school supplies, on August 24th at Kennedy Memorial Park, we have 3 organizations that will be giving out book bags and school supplies. Also, I would like to mention on August 23rd at Kennedy Park will be our annual senior picnic from 12 o'clock to 4 p.m. Actually, it's the mayor's annual senior picnic, which will be held at Kennedy Park from 12 to 4 p.m. The seniors will enjoy a family-style lunch, raffles, bingo, ice cream, and entertainment. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Question?
You had a question?
What's the status of the splash park? And
That's what I was going to ask you guys. What's the status of
The
the splash
status
park?
of the splash park is going to be part of a bond issue that we present to this board for their action. We need 4 years votes, and then it will be responsible to Mr. Gill and others to make that happen.
So that means next year.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that because I mentioned it twice to the board and I received no response.
So what else come out of the board is what that would be my question.
Say that again?
Oh, because if you don't know the status, you're the Parks and Rec board, I'd like to know what came out of Parks and Rec board. How don't you know the status of
Because
splash park?
I asked George about it, he told me the final steps lie with this board,
Yeah.
which I've stated in 2 previous meetings and nobody answered.
No, I mean, so let me ask you, so you guys have been involved in the creation of it, like the design?
I'm not involved in the creation of the design of it, no. Me
Trustee
personally, no.
Lamont Johnson and myself went out to Tanner Park in Copiague. We observed the splash park that was there. We brought back that information to George Sanders, and he presented it to that board. And now we're at the point to present it to this board to see if we can bond it and get it approved so it can be available to the youngsters and the public at large for next summer.
So the Parks and Rec board signed off on their design of the splash park?
Well, I'm not saying they signed off on it.
I didn't see
they
the
were aware of
design
it.
for the splash park, so
Right,
I
but
didn't
the
sign off.
purpose of having a Parks and Rec board is so the community's involvement in parks and recreation, you know, I don't understand how we skip an important step of it. What's the sense of having the Parks and Rec board if we're not going to utilize the Parks and Rec board?
I agree with you, but if I don't have the information, like I said, I wasn't involved in it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're hearing that.
Just on
Obviously, the
I
information
wasn't-
has been
I wasn't
presented,
involved.
so we'll step backwards and we'll make sure it's presented to you, should have been. I'm aware of it, I thought you were aware of it. Certainly trustee Johnson and I were a part of the original planning of it, and we pushed it forward as we thought, but it's gotten to the point now that we have to bond it, and the bonding requires a weighted vote by this body.
And the fence around the new skate park, any update on that?
No, I don't have an update on that, but I will have an update for you at the next meeting, or I can call you and let you know. That's it.
Well, thank you.
Human Relations, Juanita Hogwood, Director.
Good evening again. I'm going to be very brief. First of all, I'd like to say estoy feliz sobre el clase español, which means I'm happy about the Spanish class. I don't really have that much of a report because we're at Michelle Park. Starting July 8th, we're at Michelle Park. The Village of Hempstead, we began a summer feeding program at Michelle Park. We're in partnership with Island Harvest. We serve the children breakfast and lunch daily between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. We have summer help, which is beneficial because they help serve the children, they play with the children, they play basketball, they play board games, or even just having a conversation. Presence is definitely needed over there, but I've shared it with each and every one. Our goal is to be there for them, which we are. any child that's 18 years or younger is eligible to receive breakfast or lunch. On Saturday, July 20th, the Mayor Ryan and the Board of Trustees held its annual fishing trip. The Deputy Mayor attended it. It's in accordance with the My Brother's Keeper initiative. I'm sure you had a wonderful time at the fishing trip, which is what I was told. We took about 15 children from the village to Port Jeff, just on a good old-fashioned fishing trip. When you take children to fish, to actually any activity, we afford them the opportunity to engage with the mentors. They learn life skills such as patience, persistence, optimism, and actually a sense of accomplishment. A wonderful time was had by all. I just wanted to have a few reminders. Tomorrow is our annual National Night Out event, which is across the street. We have flyers in the back, as well as Ms. Henry mentioned, our annual Gospel Unity Fest will be August 16th across the street at Denton Green Park. Both events are free to the public. We hope to see you there.
Thank you.
Reginald Lucas, Hempstead Coordinating Council Exhibits.
Vacation.
Marjorie. Zoning Board Chairperson Kelly McGee.
Good afternoon. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, trustees, hope all is well, village residents. Happy afternoon. On July 30th, 2019, a regular meeting of the Examining Board of Plumbers was called to order at approximately 4:15 p.m. We reviewed the Tri-Town applicants Joseph Petroza and Joe Melanoff, as they both met with the agreements in the Tri-Town agreement. They were accepted as village plumbers. We also corrected the exams of Roberto Delgado and Dennis Trio, both taking the test for the second time. Roberto received an 84 on the written and a 75 on the drawings, and Dennis Trio received a 78 on the written and an 88 on the drawings, both applicants being recommended for a plumbing license. There was being no further business at this time. The meeting was adjourned at approximately 6 o'clock p.m.
Thank you.
Personal Wireless Board, Dolores McQueen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, how are you today? Personal wireless, I have a review of a Tier 2 modification from T-Mobile at Clinton Street, which is private property. As zoning officer, a required document was submitted from T-Mobile Incorporated for a Tier 2 modification application at existing base station known as a private property, located at 135 Clinton Street. The base station and its equipment is on a signed rooftop base station of T-Mobile equipment. A personal wireless board hearing meeting was not required for the swap and upgrading of the 9 existing antennas and equipment within the base station compound and mounts, with other related equipment that was required. They paid a $3,000 fee for review. It was submitted to the building department with review issues necessary, building permits that are required for the prospective fees. Completion of the application is submitted accordingly to the FCC rules.
Thank you.
Community Development, Ricky Cook.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor Ryan, trustees, guests, and fellow Hempstead residents, please excuse my back. I gotta put these on because I was a original member or mentored by Tyree Curry, so I'm kind of telling on myself as it relates to my age. But it was well worth it. Curry was a great person. What I would like to do is just share with you information from the Community Development Agency, aka Team CDA, under the direction of
Commissioner Charlene Thompson. I serve as her Director of Business Development and Community Revitalization. The CDA properties that we have a 5D architecture and engineering who has developed a preliminary site plan for the development of 38 Thorn. 5D has been tasked to develop a model for a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath duplex, subject to planning and zoning board approval. 38 Thorn is up for the zoning board review in September. 5D will also develop a site plan for the CDA-owned Linden properties. Those are the properties that we have on Linden. The Main Street Beautification Project. Main Street Beautification is in its final phase. Tree plantings, benches, bike racks, and trash receptacles, and the water features are scheduled to be finished this month. Upcoming events. The Hempstead Community Land Trust. The next general meeting for the Hempstead Community Land Trust will be held Tuesday, August 20th, 2019 at Kennedy Park, beginning at 6:30 p.m. We also have a community cleanup and beautification, Wednesday, August 21st. CDA is partnering with the Parks Department, DPW, and HPD, and Adelphi University, which happens to be the alma mater of Mayor Ryan and myself, to do a community-wide cleanup starting at 8 a.m. We'll also that day have a luncheon that's going to be catered by Brother Robinson at Genesis Soul Food Restaurant on 143 North Franklin Street. Meet Your Lender Day on Thursday, September 19th, 2019, from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the African American Museum of Nassau County.
Excuse me, Mr. Cook, could you hold on for a second?
Yes, sir.
Would you all please do us a favor and put your phone on, turn it off or put it on vibrate? Turn it off or put it on vibrate, please. Thank you.
Meet Your Lenders Day on Thursday, September 19th. It's going to be held at the African American Museum of Nassau County, located at 110 North Franklin Street here in Hempstead. During this event, Hempstead residents who may be behind on their mortgages will have an opportunity to submit a request for modification or have the conversation of how to request the modification to become current on their mortgages. HUD certified housing counseling agencies will be on site to help facilitate the application process, provide guidance and or follow-up with residents where necessary. The last that we'd like to share with you is the Community Empowerment Resource Center. It will hold an open house on the evening of Thursday, September 19th, 2019, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at 50 Clinton Street, Suite 504, which is offices of the CDA. Translation services will be available. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Of course, I have a question.
Sure.
On the 5D, why are you designing, any idea why you're designing a house that has to get zoning board, CDA approval? I do. And the reason that is because currently it's a lot that's developed for one property. We're going to divide it up and have 2 duplexes on the property. So we have to have zoning board approval in order to do that. Right, that's why I asked you why. Like we're discouraging that. And at the same time, you guys are, right, we don't approve 2-family houses on and off. So why would we design a 2-family house? Well, there are actually 2 one-family houses that's going to be together, is what it's going to be. It's going to be individual homes, right, but it's going to be 2, yes, which is the reason that we need the approval of the plan. So you're squeezing 2 houses on one. That is correct. That is correct.
It makes it affordable. The picture is in the office, if you'd like to take a look at it.
Once you do one, you got to do them all. Just keep that in mind. Everybody's going to want to do that. And that's gonna increase the overcrowding. What you do want is to walk. It's an undersized lot that they put two houses on. Two single-family homes.
Yeah, that would be a good word.
Excuse me, I have a correction on my date for the Hempstead Community Trust, Land Trust meeting. It's going to be the 13th of August, not the 20th, the 13th.
Not the 20th, the 13th.
That is correct. Yes.
What's the lot size?
I don't have that information with me, but I can get it for you.
I appreciate it.
You got it.
Are the units connected or are they separate?
They are connected.
So they share a
Yeah.
common wall?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Cell phone, please.
And I would entertain a motion at this time to go into executive session for the purpose of
Not
a...
yet.
They should have been up there, I'm sorry.
Not yet. At this time, we're going to go, the mayor and the board of trustees are going to enter into an executive session. The village attorney would like to enter the executive session today regarding a pending settlement. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Can we advise the audience of the expected time that they're going to be in executive session?
Yes. So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Patricia Perez, village clerk, the board of trustees hereby waives the reading of the minutes for the regular meeting July 2nd and special meeting July 16th and accepts them as reviewed.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Report of the village justice month, June 2019. Total number of cases before the court, 1,997. Total monies remitted to the village controller, $212,732. Mayor Ryan and Deputy Mayor Renfro approves the miscellaneous license and permit applications as reviewed. Number 6, resolve that upon the recommendation of Sharice Vanderholt, village attorney, to authorize settlement with tax treasury matter of Greenwich Nursing Home Associates for the property known as 1 Greenwich Street, Hempstead, New York, for tax years 2009-10 through 2010-11 in a total amount of $230,000 and 5 payable equal amounts of $46,000.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Sharice Vanderholt, village attorney, the board of trustees hereby approves the public hearing which was held on Tuesday, June 18, 2019, considering amending chapter 78A Code of the Incorporated Village of Hempstead.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Sharice Vanderholt, village attorney, that the board approves the stipulation of agreement between the village of Hempstead and the PBA regarding general municipal law, section 207-C.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Larry Lutz, purchasing agent, and Frank Germanero, Director of DPW, and the Board of Trustees hereby approves bid number 6 HEMV 2019-2020 to furnish and deliver 25 new fire hydrants for DPW and the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, T. Mina Supply Incorporated, 444 Douglaston Parkway, Douglaston, New York, 11368, for a total amount of $58,600.
So moved.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro? Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Samantha Fountain, Deputy Village Clerk, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the authorization be granted for the Village of Hempstead and to enter into an agreement with JAG Security, 678 Bolton Avenue, Hempstead, New York, to provide security services to safeguard employees and visitors to Village Hall effective from August 5, 2019 through May 31, 2021. Be it resolved that the mayor be and he hereby is authorized to execute the said agreement on behalf of the Village of Hempstead on such terms and conditions as may be acceptable to the village attorney.
Move.
Second question. Should this be based on the clerk's recommendation?
No.
The mayor's recommendation.
The mayor's recommendation.
That should be changed.
Yes. Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Sharice Vanderholt, village attorney, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the Property Registration Champions LLC, DBA Pro Champ 2725 Center Place, Melbourne, Florida 32940, to enter into an agreement with the Incorporated Village of Hempstead to provide services authorized pursuant to the ordinance to register vacant, abandoned, and foreclosed properties so that the village can properly address violations of the village's property maintenance codes.
Move. Second.
I have a question. Mr. Mayor, in regards to that, the zombie homes, who's gonna be handling the zombie homes that we already have handling the zombie homes? Who's assigned to that?
We have a committee that is so responsible. And Reverend Easley is the head of that, along with CDA commissioner. We have a committee that's responsible for that.
So my question is, will their duty change if we hire someone?
I think the changes that the company is going to make that determination, and there'll be a $500 fee. They keep $100, and $400 comes into the cost of the village.
Mr. Nick?
Trustee that?
Yes, there's a $500 fee attached. $100 goes to the firm that we're now possibly approving. $400 for going to the village coffers. We're talking vacant and abandoned property.
So to answer Trustee Johnson, it should impact them. It should get a lot easier to track the vacant and foreclosed properties as the banks are forced to register them into a database. And we're hoping when we get really good at the database, we can also use it for other things like tracking where our most vulnerable citizens are in terms of senior citizens, knowing whose homes, the addresses of those homes, so if there's power outages and things of that nature, we can go into the database.
Trustee Daniels, thank you for your answer, but I'm worried about duplicity. Two groups of people doing the same thing. That's what I need to know. Are we playing two people to do the same thing or two groups to do the same thing?
No, I think it's a tool for them to use.
All indications with the companies, for the communities that they have been employed by, what indicated is that in addition to, it will enhance the amount of money that comes into the village. Give us a better chart on the vacant abandoned homes that plague us.
Okay, I asked a question before, I'm going to ask a question again. In the past 2 years, these vacant homes, these zombie homes, have we attained any of these homes? Have we turned over any of these homes? Have we sold any of these homes up to today's date? For 2 years. The question, when I asked the question last time, the answer was no. I want to know, did anything change?
I'll have to get that answer for you. Mr. Cook would have been prepared to answer, but he has left. So So look, and the call to the CDA will be answered as well.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Sure.
There's also something else that we need to put in place. I don't know if the community or the board is aware, but we do have quite a few squatters here in Hempstead right now. And in order to get these squatters out after 30 days, the one behind me took us 2 years to get out. There are some people going around with legal contracts and writing contracts to the tenants, charging them rent, and they don't even own the property. So we had 2 in my community. One was, the guy was charging $2,600 a month for a house that he didn't own, and he had 5 people in the house that he was charging $600 or $700 a month. And it's really difficult to get these people out once they get in. So I don't know if we have anyone. I don't know if we have anyone that's keeping an eye on that to make certain that we have no squatters in these homes. Because some of the banks seem like they just don't care.
Okay, that's a good question. It's a problem. We have discovered this in the past. Peter, are you able to comment further?
So if you
Yes.
drive around the village, any houses that you see that have a red sticker attached to them,
That's us.
those are the homes that we go in, I don't say we, CDA's code enforcement person goes in every 30 days to make sure there's no one in that house, and then they sign off that there's nobody in that home. So they are watching that. I think this database will help them actually identify those homes and continue up, they keep that up to speed in that process.
That's great to let you know that on the corner of Big Plain and Sunset Drive, they removed the red sticker off one of the doors. Broke the window, went in, set up shop, and in fact, I'm glad that my civic association is a nosy civic, because they actually keep an eye on everything in the community. If a car sits too long, they call. And when you talk to other communities about that, they'll tell you that's not my job, that's the police job. So how are we going to come together as a community when we're not looking out for each other? And we're asking the police to be our eyes and ears everywhere they go. And that's impossible. So we're going to have to we're going to have to be more vigilant in our community to make sure that people that are there belong in that community.
That's right.
Because once they get there and you're trying to get them out, it's going to be a problem.
Very difficult.
Very difficult.
And that's a house on Sunset Drive, over in Dix Lane.
Yeah, we took care of it. Yeah, in fact, thank you, Chief. That office down there to fill it out on Wednesday. Thank you.
The rented cows that trustee Anders pointed out is something that was developed for that purpose. Okay, let's move to the vote.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Sharice Vanderhold, village attorney, the board of trustees hereby approves Fundamental Business Service Incorporated, DBA FBS 14 Front Street, Hempstead, New York, to enter into an agreement with the incorporated village of Hempstead to provide parking enforcement management. FBS shall transcribe all records of parking summonses and the information contained therein from the original appearance tickets, summonses located at the village of Hempstead.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
No.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Abstain.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Motion passed. 13. Resolved that upon the recommendation of Sharice Vanderhold, village attorney, board of trustees hereby approves the Burge Group to enter into an agreement with the incorporated village of Hempstead to provide professional services in connection with the project, including normal civil, structural, mechanical, and electrical services, and normal architectural services related to therefore as set forth within this agreement.
So moved.
Trustee Johnson?
No.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Motion passed. 13A, resolved that upon the recommendation of Sharice P. Vanderhold, village attorney, that the board of trustees hereby approves the contract addendum to item 13 to provide grant surveillance, identification, and writing services.
So moved.
And the second,
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
This is version A.
Right.
So what was 13?
Was the general services contract.
Oh, but this is an amendment to the general service.
And then,
Oh. All right.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Sharice Vanderhold, village attorney, that the Board of Trustees hereby approves for the County of Nassau, 1550 Brentford Avenue, Mineola, New York, to utilize 655 spaces in parking fields 1, 5, 5C, 6, 7, 8, and 12 in the Incorporated Village of Hempstead from June 1, 2019 through May 31st, 2022. The mayor be and he hereby is authorized to execute said agreement on behalf of the Village of Hempstead on such terms and conditions are acceptable to the village attorney. I need a motion.
That's page 14.
Item 14.
Okay, thank you. So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
No.
Question. So these parking fields will be utilized, people are parking here, Village of Hempstead residents?
no, county employees. So these are the food street employees, the
Court.
Franklin, the court, the DA's office. Yeah.
And the town?
The town parks over in parking field number
Right,
1.
we're talking about just the county.
Parking field 1 is on here.
Yes, but they have the commission there and then Cooper Street, those employees are there.
And on the Main Street building, don't they have an option to buy that building?
And I believe in 2 more years.
And does it run concurrent with this, if it takes them to this point?
Yes, this one too.
So in 22, they opt to buy the building, it comes off our tax roll, right? And now they're gonna have a place to park them, and they need our permission to park.
Yes, we need our permission to park. Correct.
So we're gonna have to spill over from the county employees, the same way they're concerned about spill over. Hempstead residents going to other communities, reporting crime, motion. So maybe the county needs to know where the borders of Hempstead are. And if we're not good enough to cross borders and collect sales tax revenue for those who fail and car dealerships that the village of Hempstead doesn't partake in, maybe not good enough to park in our parking lots.
Say that, say that.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
No.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Motion passed. Item 15, resolved that upon the recommendation of Sharice Vanderhold, village attorney, the Board of Trustees hereby approves 236 Fulton Avenue LLC, BSG Management 236 Fulton Avenue, Suite 217, Hempstead, New York, to utilize 15 spaces in parking field number 4 in the Incorporated Village of Hempstead from September 1, 2019 through August 31st, 2021. The mayor be and he hereby is authorized to execute said agreement on behalf of the village of Hempstead on such terms and conditions are acceptable to the village attorney.
So moved.
Second.
I have a question. Do we count the number of parking spaces available in parking field 1, parking field 4, and these other parking lots?
You know the number, yes.
So what's the number for parking field 4?
Off the top of my head, I do not know the number, but I can give it to you tomorrow.
Okay, so we rent out all these parking spaces, and we say that we want people to shop and or dine in the village of Hempstead. Where are they going to park?
This is the one that we went back and forth on.
No, we got that one. Take care of this.
I need to know where our village residents are gonna park. When they get their hair done, when they're dining, when they're shopping, where are they gonna park? Because those are the main parking lots in the downtown area.
So, trustee, there are plenty of parking spaces for people who are going to shop. This is a renewal contract, this isn't something new. So there's street parking, there's also municipal parking and parking field 4. Parking field 4, for the audience, just so you know, is the parking field that is behind the old Nakizaki, that extends from Fulton all the way to Franklin. That huge lot, that's also part of the old Wallbound B&T supermarket. So that is a lot that they're talking about.
Right.
And this is for 15 spaces.
That's why I asked the question, because I believe one of the proposals set up to 600 and something spaces. Right?
That was in various lots.
Okay, but that's why I asked, do we know the exact number of lots? Because even though they're large lots, there's not as many parking spaces as you may think they are.
So I can give you the number tomorrow.
That's the important thing. Tomorrow, check the numbers so that you feel comfortable
Pull it.
Well, you got to
move the second. We have to move the second.
Yeah, but, so, is this metered parking? They're renting, they're paying for this parking?
But they designate themselves spaces adjacent to their properties. So if you're a retail owner, right, your clients or your customers have to walk further away to access the retail.
The only one that does that in that building though is the probation officer. I believe those spaces are over deep into that.
They're closer to.
They're closer
to the supermarket.
No, probation.
Probation is right there. Probation is right there.
So probation, district court, Cooper Street for tickets.
Well, not for that.
No, that's not for this field.
That's not that.
No, but it's all county stuff.
Right.
All sitting in the middle of the village of Hempstead. All the counties dumping everything here, and they so concerned about spillover outside of the village of Hempstead. But they want to dump everything, county municipal services down in the village of Hempstead. And they want to talk about crime. You can't talk about crime without the socioeconomic issues that cause the crime. People don't wake up in the morning and want to hit somebody over the head. And to sit there in newspapers and everything every day and talk about how you want to isolate the crime and keep it in the village of Hempstead because it's starting to eke out into other areas of the community is inherently racist. So no, take your parks, take everything, take it back. Take it back. Take it back.
None of us were happy with the article, and we all kind of, I'm sure, agree, and we try to counter that, and it's still ongoing, so we get our points across. But the parking lot issue that we're talking about is limited to renewing 15 spaces in parking lot 4 as to this resolution.
But a counter, Don, is not, Mr. Mayor, is not saying that, telling everybody in this room that we safer now than we were 5 years ago. Because anybody that lives in the village of Hempstead know they don't feel safer than they felt 5 years ago.
We're talking with the answer.
That's not a counter.
The answer for that was a statistical phenomenon. That was that part of it. Obviously, anytime we have a homicide, the statistics lose a great value, but the statistical numbers are real.
Right. So the question is, and understand what's saying, if we deny them these renewals, that's the source of income that the village is not getting.
Clearly. In this case, we're talking $15,600, but let's move to vote. We're free to go with the majority rule.
Trustee Johnson?
No.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
No.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Motion passed. Item 16. Resolved as upon the recommendation of Joe Gill, village treasurer, the board of trustees authorized on July 22nd, 2019, that the village must pay the workmen's compensation settlement in the amount of $27,163.03 before August 1st, 2019, or pay a penalty of $5,500. Be ratified.
So moved.
Second.
It's not a settlement, it's a decision by the workers' comp judge.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Joe Gill, village treasurer, the board of trustees authorized July 22nd, 2019, that the village must pay workers' compensation settlement in the amount of $12,446.21 before August 1, 2019, and pay a penalty of $2,500 be ratified. No settlement.
Same comment, it wasn't a negotiated settlement, it was an order of the judge.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Joe Gill, village treasurer, board of trustees authorized on July 25th, 2019, that the village must pay workers' compensation in the amount of $34,894.11 before August 1, 2019, and pay a penalty of $6,979 to be ratified.
Move.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro? Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Don Ryan, the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes Lamont Johnson, Carla A. Guerrera, Dan Oppenheimer, and Stacy Hargraves to the Nassau County Industrial Development Agency, aka the IDA Board, on reviewing applications and approving pilot agreements of projects located within the village of Hempstead.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Question. This is separate from the one, the town one that they saw?
Yes. It is.
And I'm sure we have a big group that sit on the town. We didn't think that we could add other residents to sit on this
It
one?
was an option, and I elected to go with the same people. Accept the determination of this board.
Trustee Johnson?
Okay.
I abstain.
Trustee Hobbs?
No.
Trustee Daniels?
No.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Vote fails. Resolved that upon the recommendation of Joseph Simone, Superintendent of the Building Department, the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the St. Ladislaw Church to erect a tent, Village Code Section 50-28, Paragraph A-2, and hold their summer carnival on their church grounds from August 21 to September 2, 2019, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Now, I have family members here that wanted to come forward and take pictures of their mom.
Oh, no.
Yes? No? Oh, no. Oh, that was just a request. They was happy for their mom becoming a master electrician. Resolved that upon the recommendation of Joseph Simone, Superintendent of the Building Department, that the Board of Trustees hereby approves to issue a license as a master employee electrician to Renee Pizza, 99 James A. Broadway, Hempstead, New York. Renee? I'm sorry. I was happy for her. Okay. Trustee Hobbs, I need a second. I'm sorry.
As usual, I like information on ShotSpotter. I like information on, since the last meeting, how many times ShotSpotter went off and what was the outcome of the going off. Now, I have something in my hand here saying, policing brings state troopers to Hempstead Police Department. I'd like to understand what is that? Obviously our police department is undermanned in double digits. I'd like to know the number of that. What would be the purpose of these extra police who's gonna pay for these extra police? What area are they gonna, cover? How many officers are we gonna get? And being that the weekend has just went by, there were 2 mass shootings. How are we equipped to deal with that? Thank you.
Let's, Chief?
No, not at all. I have the figure since July of 15 to date, we had 16 ShotSpotter alerts. Result of that was, 7 were confirmed shots fired over that time period.
How many was fatal?
1.
Only 1 was fatal.
That's correct.
Since the last meeting.
Yes. That's correct. Now, in regards to your question regarding the extra patrol, those vehicles are in the village to assist the Hempstead patrol officers.
How many?
There are 2 vehicles.
2 vehicles.
2 vehicles. Each are manned by 2 officers. One is paid for by Nassau County Police Department. The other is paid by New York State Police.
Not by us.
I'm sorry, say again?
We don't contribute any money, no.
Not at all. That is paid for by the agencies that they're employed by. And that was at the request of the county executive and the governor.
Okay. Will that be AM or PM, midnight, 24 hours?
I can't release the particulars of their patrol. It's a safety issue, sir.
Okay. Go ahead. So we get and say what area they're going to do the whole village.
They don't have. They're not restricted as to where they can go. They can go anywhere.
Not
within the
restricted.
village.
No time there. Okay. You're equipped to handle mass shootings.
Mass shootings?
Mass shootings, yes.
Yeah, our officers have been trained to deal with mass shootings. They all have. All of our officers have active shooter training, which they received in Nassau County Police Academy. So yes.
Is that the top of the line? I mean, is that it? Do they do anything else or besides that?
Yeah, they are trained to deal with that. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just a little bit further on that, we want to hold a second. Trustee?
And also we have what is called Emergency Service Committee, and we meet with the police department, fire department. We also had this time invited the superintendent, acting superintendent of Hempstead School District, so that we have those meetings. So God forbid if something like that happens, there's an inter-department operation to make sure that we address it. So we do meet to discuss those things, and also in the case of disasters.
Thank you. Anybody else got any?
Question. Chief, you were saying that it was at the request of the state police and Nassau County that they bring cars in here. What's the thoughts on the origin of why they would want to bring their cars into the confines of?
Well, myself and Chief Johnson had a meeting with the commissioner and the chief of police of Nassau County last week. They offered those resources, and we accepted that offer.
And what's their goal?
To reduce the amount of gun violence in the village and to increase the visible police presence.
Reduce or contain? Because they specifically stated they wanted to contain it, and they wanted to stop the spillover.
Trustee, I'm sorry, but I disagree with a lot of the statements that were in that article, and that's one of them.
Because spillover, and then specifically naming minority communities within Nassau County and blaming them for the crime and worried about their spillover coming into other parts of Nassau County is completely inappropriate for the commissioner of the Nassau County Police Department. And the fact that no one's sitting here, no one's saying that, because we're all black and brown people in this community, and if you don't see the fact that people want to talk about containing you where you are, but they're okay with when you're off the lid and spending money at Roosevelt Field and everywhere else, you take your sales tax revenue, which we get no parts of, but it's our problem, and they want to contain us killing ourselves here. Just don't let it spread out somewhere else. And I got a real problem with that. And we all should have a real problem with that. Because that's from the top.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor,
Sure.
I want to say a few things about the press conference that took place the other day. And I'm not criticizing anyone, but I don't agree with many things that were said. One of the things that the commissioner, I don't know if he made a mistake, if it was a slip of the tongue, he said he wants people to believe that Hempstead is a safe place. I have lived in Hempstead 47 years. I was even conceived in the home that I live in now, so I've been here 47 years. The other day, I let my large dog out. Mayor,
Listen.
you're speaking while I'm speaking. Can you please give me the opportunity? What I say is very important. I feel it's very important. The other day at 2 p.m., I let my dog out to relieve itself. And I heard some shots fired. And I said, no, it can't be shots. It's 2 p.m., it's broad daylight, and no one will be shooting in broad daylight in Hempstead. But it just so happened that there was shots fired, several shots fired around the corner from my home. I'm not saying I'm scared because I'm not scared, but I do not feel safe in the village of Hempstead. I do not feel that crime is down in the village of Hempstead. I feel it's a smack in the face of people that you and I both know that have been victims of gun violence. We even have a parent in here right now whose son was murdered, and another son, several months later, was shot several times in the village of Hempstead. So I do not feel that in the past 5 years, Hempstead has been made more safe. If anyone remembers, less than 5 years ago, a 12-year-old was shot while in her living room. So that's within 5 years. So this idea that in 5 years crime is down, I don't agree with it. It's not true in my opinion. Hempstead is not safer now. I understand the police officers have a very difficult job and they're doing their best. It's evident by what we saw earlier that they are doing their best to get the guns off the street. But I'm not going to play the numbers game. I can't look into a parent's face or a loved one's face and say that I believe Hempstead is safe when I don't believe it's safe. If it was safe, Christmas Eve, I would not have to respond to Terrace Avenue to a family home after somebody was murdered on Christmas Day. So Hempstead is not safe. Or earlier this year, when a 17-year-old was murdered and another person that was a student at Hempstead School was shot in the rear end. So it's not safe. We witnessed people being murdered in broad daylight. Broad daylight. Not in the veil of darkness, in broad daylight. So the shot spot is a great thing. The cameras are a great thing. But it's not enough because people don't care. They don't wait till it's dark anymore. At Lincoln Park, the other day, there was several shots fired while children were playing basketball. It's totally unacceptable. So I'm not going to gloss it over. I'm not going to be one to say that crime is down. I'm not going to play the numbers game. I'm playing the people's game. And too many people have been a victim of the crime. And I'm tired of going to funerals. I'm tired of hearing speeches about how great a person was. And as you know, one of the individuals that we know very well, a football player, the third time he was shot, it was fatal. Then we had the murder the other night of a young man, a hardworking young man that was murdered the other night. Enough is enough. We're not going to play I'm not going to play the numbers game. I'm not going to make believe that it's safe because it's not safe. So we have to do something. This is not about politics. This is about people. This is about life and death. This is how serious it is. Someone is in the grave. Many people are in the grave over the past few years. Many young people, their life is over. Their life's been snuffed out. We don't know if these people, what they would have done in their life, they're no longer here. So to start running around with statistics, people can see, and they don't feel that Hempstead is safer. So I want everyone to know that I don't believe that crime is down, and I don't believe it's safe.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to comment?
Yeah.
No, on the board.
I'm just going to ask this, how how long this has been in the works. I mean, the chief said it's been in the works for a week, right? You know, and so the best we could do is 2 cars for 30 days. But, you know, Mayor, you said it was a long-term discussion that you've been having with the state that I guess no one else has been party to. But, you know, is this all the resources that they can muster? Was a car for 30 days?
I said it was a long-term discussion. It wasn't all on my part. It was before that. We actually have had agreements with a blue and gray effort that goes over with the Economic Administration.
You have to speak
Pointing out
up,
what
Mr.
to
Mayor.
do. But just,
We can hear you.
let me say, obviously, it's disappointing. The people that he referenced, we both know them, and I understand the pain. I did give the trustee an opportunity to speak. That speech would have been better if it were done publicly at the time. It was not. It's done now. I'm hearing it. The numbers I have are accurate. They're not made up. However, I agreed, and I said, once there's a homicide, all the numbers go out. The homicide is the fact of the day, and it concerns us greatly. I'll be going shortly to the funeral, unfortunately, of our last victim. I've known him a lifetime. The mother's asked me, family members, and a few friends to attend the celebration of life, and I'll do so. It is difficult, no question. The young girl who got murdered in our home, I visit her grave every single day. It is painful. The gentleman who was killed 3 times should have been in college, and he was not. He was killed once, shot 3 times. He should have been in college. The fact that he wasn't is a painful disgrace on the part of the people who made that decision, because the money was there and allocated through a fund that earlier those that attended here saw for the Tyree Curry monies. So these are all things that hurt, without a doubt. They all hurt. We share that, all 5 of us and all of you. There's no question about it. When it comes to listing of the numbers, these are the numbers that are done by the crime analysts. These are not numbers that are made up. It's definitely not something to be proud of. We need more people to be safe in the community. The fact that there's only 1 police call from the state and 1 from the county, what are you going to tell them? Don't drink it? Thank you. Obviously, we need more. I've met with the county executive. I'm meeting with the governor. There are things that we have to let them both know clearly that we're concerned about. Nobody liked the statements that were in Newsday. And the odd part about the article in Newsday, it was written before the state had any discussion with the state troopers regarding what they were going to do in the village. It's a contradiction. It makes no sense. And it's something that the state is called to apologize about, and perhaps there'll be some further discussion so that doesn't happen. The article was premature, and was not an article that I was proud to read. But we're going forward, and we're going to try to see if we can make it better and safer. You don't say no, I don't believe, in my opinion, even if it's only 1 call from each agency. Whatever they can do is more than what we have presently. So here we are, and obviously one of the things we need additional police officers. We need the governor to see if he can urge civil service to make the list available of Hempstead residents who have passed the test and are eligible to be employed. To date, they've given us 1. That individual, beautifully, lives at 100 Terrace, interviewed and offered. Hopefully, he will accept. But we need more. In fact, we probably need about 17 more. We are supposed to have 130 police officers, and we're down to 113. The safety issue is as big an issue, unfortunately. It's the overtime. We still have to put the police on the street, but we have to pay them. So we want additional police. We want them from the village of Hempstead. That will be possible, and the civil service makes the list available. Other villages are suffering equally. They too only got 1 name on the list. I'm not sure of the rationale, but they're doing the same thing we're doing, asking civil service to get that list to us so we can interview, select, hire, train, and then put on the street additional police officers.
Well, I agree with you 100%, Mayor, in terms of we need more. We don't say no to help, but you have to question with the motive, when you hear it from the horse's mouth, that the whole point of coming in is to contain, not to get rid of, not to try to eliminate crime, contain the crime from spilling over into other communities, That is a different type of policing. That is a military tactic that the United States government is currently using in Afghanistan. Bring the fight to them before they bring the fight to us. And you have to question that motive and whether you want somebody with a mandate like that patrolling in our community.
Well, you've got company, so I appreciate you saying it loudly and clearly. Anybody else?
Yeah, let me,
Trustee Davis brought up another question. You
Yes.
asked about the meetings,
What?
right? That were had previously with the police and the state. You asked about that?
No, well, we said it was a long-term discussion.
Right, you want
But
to-
I'm long-term going back to previous administration.
Yeah, but let me say also, talking to the state, and you can't get into too much detail, and it wasn't about patrol, it was more about investigation. And the problem here in the village of Hempstead is not only the shootings that occur, but we have so many people that know who the shooters are. The neighborhood say who they know are the same shooters, and nobody's saying anything. And so we need help, especially if people know who the shooters are or have witnessed stuff that's going to lead up to shooting. We have to open up our mouth. And I agree with you, the statement that the commissioner made was terrible. But again, you can't cut off your nose to spite your face. We need the help that we can get. We need to address the statement that he made. But I can't say, don't send no help in here, because we need help.
No one suggested anything about not accepting the help, so I don't know why that sentiment is being said over and over. No one said, I didn't hear any trustee say anything about not accepting the help. So we're not going to turn this into, we're saying that we're not accepting the help. No one said that.
Did I say a trustee said it? I just said we should turn down the help.
listen, folks. We're not going to police ourselves out of the situation we have here.
Why not?
We're not. You're not going to police. If we're not doing anything for our own community, why would we expect anybody else to come forward?
Yeah.
Listen, Superman is not coming. He wasn't even real. So if we want to do something for our community, we have to step forward ourselves and do what we have to do in our neighborhoods and stop blaming everybody for what we created. So we can talk until we, I shouldn't say blue because I'm almost dead, but we should stop talking about what we're going to do, what should be done. Listen, we police our own neighborhood, unbeknownst to the police department. You got to be vigilant where you live. You got to care about where you live. You can talk about all the shootings in the world that you want, but if you're not going to do anything, then stop talking. You have to do something. You have to love your community. I heard Trustee Johnson, he's been here 47 years. I've been here over 60 years. And I've seen it go from one end of the spectrum to the other. And we are still talking. I don't care about credit. I just want to get the job done. Don't even mention my name in an article.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes.
I have you know, since you want to talk about
No.
Deputy Mayor, may I have the floor?
Go ahead.
I want you to know that I was a police officer in the village of Hempstead.
I know.
Let me finish. I had the floor. When I was a police officer, and people could say how many people I arrested or I didn't arrest. But guess what? I put 70 to 80 miles on the car at night. I did not stop my car. I did not get in the 69 position speaking to other officers. I did not hide behind buildings. I patrolled street after street after street after street after street on post 1. And when I was working, you didn't have shots fired. You didn't have robberies. And when I first came to the Hempstead Police Department, I was 25 years old. So I was not that much separated from the people that were committing the crimes. And I knew who they were, I knew what their nickname was, and when they saw me, they said, we will not commit a crime because we know who was out there, and they didn't do it. So if you want to talk about somebody not doing anything, I've done something. I'm not done. I'm not just talking. I'm not just talking, but I just want everyone to know that I do not feel Hempstead is safe, and it's not a number game to me. Too many people that I know personally are no longer here. So it's life or death. This is not politics anymore. This is not about saying something that sounds good for the media. This is about people dying.
Trustee Johnson, I think you misunderstood me. This is not personal.
It's not talking about personal. But I'm saying you said people have not done anything.
No, I'm just saying as a community, we haven't done what we should be doing as a community.
And the person that was shot 3 times, they knew who was shooting 3 times. That was known. The person that was shot 3 times, it was known that there were shooters out there, different people. And some people on this day know certain people that are behind some of the shooters and have not done anything about it. So don't get me started, because this is not, like I said, this is not about politics. This is about life and death.
You think I made that statement for politics?
I don't care who you made it for.
No, I didn't make it for anyone. I made it for the community at large.
Let's vote for
We got a person in here that's son is dead and another son was shot. So 1 homicide is too many. I don't want to hear about the statistics. What's down? There's people, the man in the back, his son was murdered in the village of Hempstead, and another son was shot several times months later.
All right, let's move forward. Shelley Grayson? We're gonna go from there to the parking lot.
Come on now.
You guys.
Well, good night. Good evening, Mayor and trustees, residents. Okay, when I originally wrote that, it was to deal with the amount of revenue we could expect from the county with relation to parking spaces. But I have to say I agree with Trustee Daniels, and the county has an outrageous amount of property off our tax rolls in our community. And are we going to be making revenue on these parking spaces? Does it make sense for us as a community? We really need to look at that. But since I wrote that, quite a few things happened. One with the parking and lack of code enforcement, because why else would one house have 10 cars? When we're looking at our village and our school district and how we just can't accommodate the people, we got all these notes and memos about water, our sewage is on the brink. What are we doing, elected officials, with code enforcement that would help us with these parking issues, the overcrowding of our schools, and all of those things? Another question I had in all of this back and forth, 2 vehicles, one from the county and one from the state, is not helping us confine, subdue. It's not helping us do anything. Those are monitors for your behalf. You don't put 1 car in here from the state, 1 car in here from the county, and think that those cars are here to help us do anything with crime. They're here to monitor us. Anyway, they have to do it. And why are we still being so naive when it comes to these things and when it comes to our community? When are we, and I know it's a lot of facets to the room and everybody has a corner, everybody has a side, everybody has a point, but unless everybody comes together, checks their ego at the door, and we sit down and reason together as brothers and sisters that live in this community, we're going to be sitting here screaming and hollering at each other with this same ridiculous bantering over and over again. When do we take responsibility for ourselves? The unemployment in this community is higher than any other in the county because we don't support the businesses in the community. The fact is, next to the government, small business employs more people than anyone. So I had several businesses in this community and they're all closed now. But the truth is, I employ people from the community. And so we have to start looking at, even the things that I've been passionate about, the pilots. We have to look at them. How come we're the only community in Nassau County where the pilots are renewable? Pilots, every single apartment, is there, outside of Bedell Street, is there any apartment building in this community that's tax positive?
Cool.
Does everybody have a tax credit? Every single apartment building except Bedell Street? And when are we going to really deal with that? When are we going to deal with what a pilot looks like in Garden City opposed to what a pilot looks like in 11550? We have very serious issues in our community, and we got to find a way to sit down and talk about them and come up with solutions that really are going to work for us. and not keep closing our eyes when it's convenient, closing our eyes when it's a friend, closing our eyes because you went to school with them in 1852. We gotta stop. So, the vehicles are not help, gentlemen. The vehicles are monitors. It's just put packaged differently because they feel like we don't know our ABCs and we can't count and add 1 plus 1. But it's definitely not help.
Thank you. Original Benjamin?
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, trustees. Let me just digress to say one thing first. I'm personally thankful to the local police. I've had some traumatic situations and several police have stepped up to help. I'm thankful to them. And the way that they handled that situation was very professional. And so I appreciate it. But I am, on the other hand, alarmed because I believe that the village of Hempstead is under siege. Again, I'm thinking about the police that's coming in allegedly to help. I'm thinking about they taking over the school district. I just heard tonight about the issue that happened to Jeff. And it seemed to be people of color that is being targeted, and it seems like we are naive to think that someone is coming in to help us when in fact they are taking the little stuff that we have. I think that we are better able to manage our own community if we were to step up to the plate. And I think the biggest problem we have is we fight each other too much. That wasn't what I was here for, but since I am here, I just want to talk about, to me, the real problem in the village of Hempstead is the lack of economic development and the lack of job opportunity for our community. People that are not able to go to work and take care of their families, they're going to do whatever it takes to be able to provide for their families. So we need to be focusing more on how do we bring opportunity to the village of Hempstead for these young men in particular to be able to go to work. I know that the government, this state has already put $175 million in workforce development, and it's targeted for low-income community, for people that are transitioning out of the criminal justice system. Is anybody reaching out to that? I just want to say, I'm concerned about one other thing, and I know I'm running out of time, so I'm talking fast. Just recently, we helped to build a charter school. We put something like 20-odd people to work because they got work experience in that. We was able to put a bunch of people over here on the Dell Bus Company. I know we got one person working, electrician, 2 plumbers, 3 people working with the mason people. We had 12 people doing the foundational work. We had another 3 people working right now. If you don't believe my report, go see for yourself with the steel workers. And we have 2 people now working at Martin Luther King Drive. And these are people that are formerly having a hard time to go to work. What I don't understand is we don't want any more apartment buildings in the village of Hempstead. I understand people's reason for that. And I brought to you guys' attention about we don't want the shopping centers in the village of Hempstead. What do we want? I know ShopRite is talking about building something. They said, not ShopRite. Yes, ShopRite. I asked, would we be able to get that thing done so people can go to work? It don't seem like we want nothing in the village of Hempstead. And that's what is problematic to me. We don't want this, we don't want that, we don't want things to stay the same. I'm out of time, I hate this. But I will say, we're doing some things positive in the village of Hempstead. We've sent several people to work at 50 Clinton Street, and any development, I ask your help. And Lamont, I know I'm out of time, but I thank you for your help with the school. I hope you're able to continue to reach out to those people, to urge them to hire people as they're building their school. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilman Morris?
There's been a lot of talk tonight about parking, and I recall that at the July meeting, the head of traffic and safety, Mary Burns, indicated that parking was a very serious problem in the community because the zoning codes are allowing only 1 parking spot for an apartment that could have 2-bedroom apartment. It still only require 1 parking space. And that has to do with the downtown redevelopment plan, where the plan is right now on the books for 2,500 units of housing that would provide only one parking spot per apartment, regardless of its size. I bring to your attention also that the developer is the owner of all the parking lots. And while the developer is allowing the village to earn income from them by allowing certain groups to utilize the parking spaces at a certain rate, the fact of the matter is the developer owns the parking lots, and I question what's going to happen to all when they build on these parking lots, which they have put in for apartment buildings on all these parking lots. Where are you going to have all the open houses, the outdoor festivals, the health-related events, and various other events that the community has? At every meeting, there's one or two community events that's on a parking lot, which is owned by the developer. And when the developer builds on these parking lots, there's not going to be any parking lots. I don't think the community really has faced that. I also want to bring to your attention, and of course the board I'm sure is well aware, that certain residents in the community have filed suit on the grounds that the parking lots were given away illegally to the developer. Unfortunately, the court has upheld the developer and the village that took the position that this was done legally. My own position, having read the documents very carefully, showed quite clearly that the court nearly threw the evidence in the garbage, and that is why they came up with this decision. The petitioners have requested permission to appeal the case to the Court of Appeals in the hope of getting these parking lots back. If in fact that appeal does not go through, the developers will continue to own these parking lots, and they have plans that they will praise on apartment buildings in each and every of these parking lots, and the parking would be only one parking space regardless of the size of the parking. I believe this is a very serious problem, and I believe this community needs to appeal to the Court of Appeals to allow this appeal to go through so the village can get back control of its parking lots. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, everybody. I do have one announcement. I've been told that the former county executive Tom Galata passed away.
Mr. Mayor, may I? Some of the speakers earlier, they made, I don't know if we want to use the word allegation or accusation, that a member of the fire department struck another fire department member across the face. What are we going to do since we have knowledge of that information? Are we going to investigate that information? And I would like legal advice of what we can do in regards to what's been brought forth tonight.
The village government is separate from the fire department. The fire department has a fire council that investigates its own complaints and renders its own decisions.
Madam Attorney, I don't have much legal knowledge, but I do have what they call common sense. And if a person is part of that council, and if a person is the chief of the department, it will be a conflict of interest. It will be self-serving for that council to be the persons that determine what's going to happen. So if your answer to me is not sufficient, I need a better answer of how we as a governing body, what we can do. That answer is not enough. Let me finish. I'm not satisfied with that answer. We have a head of a department. It's a thing called workplace bullying. And if in fact that someone was smacked by a supervisor, because that's what a chief is, somewhat of a supervisor, I think we can't just stand here and say it's nothing that the board can do. So I'm not happy with that answer. I would suggest that you do your research and hopefully come up with an answer.
Trustee, we went through this sufficiently over the weekend, and I told you that the government was actually separate from the fire department. I explained it to you thoroughly. This is fire council, and the board of trustees do not cover that fire council. And I also informed you that the person agrees could also file what's called an Article 78 with the Supreme Court. So if you know the person agreed, you should tell them that. Follow Article 78, and they can certainly challenge anything that the fire council has done. But to even intimate that I've given you incorrect knowledge or insufficient knowledge in front of the public, as far as I'm concerned, is slander since we had a direct conversation.
I think you misinterpreted what I was saying. I said that wasn't sufficient for me. I didn't accuse you, and I also stated by saying I'm not an attorney, but I have what I call common sense. So that was not my intention. However, since it came to our attention as a board from members of the community, I want to know how we should go further, how we should handle it. That's all I'm asking.
Mr. McLeod, I understand you submitted a form. Can't find it, but come on up if you'd like to have the mic to us.
So on the I guess there's a claim of harassment. Don't go anywhere, bro. On the claim of harassment, is there any? I mean,
so I spent.
Or is that a complete just black box that
we can't touch? I spent a tremendous amount of time on Friday, and Trustee Hobbs was with me part of the time because I thought, what it felt like to me, that the Board of Trustees should be able to intervene at some point. So after I did the research, I learned that we couldn't. And the only remedy for the agreed person would be in Article 78.
And correct me if I'm wrong, though, but don't we have a fire commissioner?
We have a fire council. So that's the thing.
I thought we also.
So this is how it goes. This is how it goes. The New York State village law or municipal law says that if a village does not appoint commissioners, then the fire department is allowed to have a fire council. So the fire council becomes the governing body of the fire department. If the mayor so chooses, he could disband the fire council and appoint commissioners, just like we do with the housing authority. So that's what the law says. So when we don't appoint commissioners, we allow the fire department to have a council.
That council not only includes elected people called wardens from each company, but the 4 chiefs are also a voting member. The 2 gentlemen to my left are assigned, and they will attend those meetings as well. All right, but let's let Mr. McLeod have an opportunity.
I have 2 questions. My question is, y'all made a statement. Y'all was on TV. Y'all said Hempstead was safe. Y'all said Hempstead was safe. I'd like to know where.
I never said Hempstead was safe.
You was on a commercial with him saying it was. I call it a commercial. You said Hempstead was safe. I'd like to know where.
I said I would want the streets of Hempstead to be safe for our children and our law-abiding citizens and not our criminals. That's the statement I said.
The mayor made a statement that a person got killed because he should have been in college. He should have been safe in Hempstead.
Say that again?
You made a statement he should have been in college.
Yes.
At the time he got killed.
True.
He should have been safe in Hempstead if he decided to come home.
Absolutely.
My son is Ladaniel McLeod. That's my son that got shot down and got killed. I got another son that was shot 7 times. I'm in this. Every day I'm out here with these kids. Lamont, you're a witness to this. You're a witness to this. Hempstead is not safe. Y'all gotta take that back. Y'all gotta fix that. They still dying. We still out here. I'm out here every day running with these kids. You know that. Hempstead is not safe. Y'all gotta retract that. Y'all gotta stop this. All this, y'all fighting each other. Our kids are dying. I lost one. Y'all gotta fix this. I don't come to these things and speak, but that's wrong. Every day I hear gunshots. I got an 84-year-old mother that's gotta get on the floor. Y'all gotta cut that out. Stop it. Hempstead is not safe. Every time I hear gunshots, I gotta check on my son. I call the cop. You can't find a cop in Hempstead. I'm calling it what it is. I go to Lamont, complain to Lamont all the time. Lamont, I know I get on his nerves. Who do I come to? I call the cop. My son got hit by a bike. It took an hour for a cop to get there. And he got up and still over. I don't play that game. Hempstead is not safe.
Hempstead is not safe. Y'all gotta retract that. Y'all gotta fix that. I knock on doors every day getting votes. I'm up to 220. I'm not playing with this no more. I lost a son. Y'all gotta stop this.
The actual quote is that the picture of crime in Hempstead has declined over a 5-year period by 18%. The village is safer today than it's been in 5 years. Safer today.
But did y'all hear what he just said?
Not safer. And there's a significant difference in the additional level.
You didn't hear me.
Fine, everybody, thank you for coming.
Crime stats have nothing to do with safety. All right, you can't point to the crime stat and say because the crime stat is down, everybody should be safer. It works, but there's a big divide there, and I think what the people are saying is they're looking to you as mayor to recognize that, to be accountable and recognize the fact that we're hurting. We're hurting, so when we stand up there and we say, yeah, well, stats are down, that makes it seem like we're not in the same community.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that as a political, I'm just saying that as a person.
I gave you a quote to give account to the statements made, but there's additional things. I said there are areas in the village that need improvement. We need aggressive police enforcement. I said some was mentioned in Newsday's coverage, but Hempstead is going to continue to move to try to make this a safer neighborhood for all. So you got to take something in its entirety. I'm not a person who wants to stand here and say that I'm satisfied. I believe for these people who have been victimized, and I know on a personal level how painful it is. So we're all on the same page. We need not to attack each other, but see if we can attack the evildoers instead. Thank you, everybody.